Good morning, or afternoon, or evening. I don't know when you're watching this. I'm recording this in the morning. This is our first video for our first kind of section of the prologue in chapter 1. My name is Pastor Kyle. It is a pleasure to be here and kind of walking through this first little reading week with you. If you don't know, we are reading through Invitation to a Journey. Pastor Seth, there's a previous video, he set it up. He actually put a link to the Amazon website if you want to purchase the book if you haven't already. But if you're here, then I'm assuming that you probably read a little bit of it, or if not all of it. That's kind of cool. And so what I would love to know is what jumped out at you. What was it that really resonated with you? What's something that maybe made you think or question? I would love for you to have you put that in the comments below. And so we would love to be reading. This is how we're growing through this together, right? We're going to gather together in a couple weeks on a Zoom call, and then we're going to gather together at the end of our reading time for this book, all as one big, large group. But as we go through that, each video, as us pastors, either Pastor Seth or Pastor Kevin or myself, talk about what jumped out at us, we would love to know what jumped out at you as well. And so you can put that in the comments below. So I don't know about you, I've read through the prologue and part 1 and chapter 1, and there's just a couple things that really jumped out at me in this section. And one of the things is this: we're all in process. This whole spiritual journey is one big process. In fact, when I was teaching confirmation years ago, one of the pastors I was teaching with said that the Christian walk is a lifelong process of maturing in the Christian faith. And that's what we're doing, right? As Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians, we're going from this whole, I was a child, and when I was a child, I spoke like a child, and I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. But then as I grew and I became a man, I gave up childish ways. And so we're going through this process together. And one of the cool things that jumped out at me also in this reading, in this week's reading, is the fact that everyone is in process, number one, and that everything around us is helping us God's using everything around us to form us in this process. That as we go through this dynamic process, as we go through the journey, God is using our experiences, good and bad, to form us more into the likeness of Christ for the sake of others. And so, I don't know about you, I would love to hear what jumped out at you, but just this whole idea that we're in a process. It's not necessarily a destination we're getting to, but we're all in process together. We're all in different levels in this process. And it's God who's doing the work in this process. It's God who's leading this process. It's God who's guiding this process. It's God who's forgiving us when we mess up in this process, and God who's restoring us in this process. So as we go through life, we realize that all life is spiritual formation, and that we either learn to cooperate with God's gracious work in all things, or we kind of push against it, right? But it is a process. And so as we're journeying together, we love that you're journeying with us. We'd love to hear what jumped out at you as well. But that's what jumped out at me this week. And I'm Pastor Kyle, and it was nice spending a couple minutes with you.